LaMelo Ball is back. Now look, the Hornets, and we just watched tonight, not a good team. A little confusing to me because Terry Rozier's been having a really good year, and Miles Bridges, who his off-court stuff we're not going to get into, but he's a very productive player. But the Hornets are just simply not good. But they do have LaMelo Ball back, one of the most exciting players in the NBA to me. Also having a great season right now at 24.9 points per game, 8 assists, and 5.3 rebounds. So, look, that team doesn't have much hope, I'm going to be honest with you. But I do want to know, Frankie, what do you feel like LaMelo's bringing to the table?
He's one of the most dynamic passers in basketball. Just such a talent. I mean, the 6'7" height will definitely help there, but the creativeness, the touch, the pass, the playmaking, the feel, it's just incredible. He's obviously a threat to pull up from deep. Transition game good. Like to see him be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more selective and mature about some of his shot selection and improve in that regard. But he's still 22. He's still on his rookie contract. I know he's been so much of his life in the limelight. I feel like we've known who LaMelo Ball is for like 10 years already.
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget that he's only 22. He's still under his rookie contract. Very talented player. Only in his third season, but he's so different from Lonzo that every time I watch him play, I honestly forget that they're brothers. They play complete opposites. LaMelo's definitely more of the scorer, the look for his shot. Lonzo's like the scrappy guy, play defense, get his teammates involved, running outlet passes, transition game. Fantastic. LaMelo's going to be a little bit more flashier there. Lonzo's got some flash to him too. Not to say he's not, but LaMelo's an extremely talented player. I hope to see him mature a little bit more. I don't know if that'll be in Charlotte. I'm not going to speculate or anything, but I definitely feel like he needs a better group around him of more vets and stuff. There's a big mess in that franchise.
Yeah, it's just I don't think, and I'm not trying to be funny when I say I just don't think the Hornets are a serious organization.
Yeah,
as far as them just trying to really maximize what they have going on. I mean, because once again, Terry Rozier he's having a great season. He was doing great when LaMelo was out, but he's been pretty inconsistent over his career. Miles Bridges, again, we're not going to get into. And then after that, it's just kind of like a huge drop-off of kind of nothing there. With no disrespect to the guys who play there, but I just don't know how much of an effort the Hornets are putting into putting any talent around LaMelo. But I do think,
yeah, sorry, no, definitely. But and there's talent there. The crazy part is like Gordon Hayward's still a productive player. You mentioned Bridges and Rozier, but PJ Washington is pretty good. He's only 25. Mark Williams, 22 years old. I believe he's a second-year player. He's talented. They've also battled some injuries. Brandon Miller is an exciting rookie player for them. But yeah, like I just feel like they're one of those teams that like they're so young. They're so young and so immature that you can really feel it on the court and off the court issues as well.
Yeah, well, you know what? I should reword that because I am more of in the same boat with you. They do have talent, but they're just not ready to do anything. So it's not that they're not serious. They're just not in a position where they're trying to win. I feel like if they were trying to win, they could try to kind of come off of a couple of those contracts and make some trades, but they're not in that position right now. But it is what it is. Also, I feel real bad for the Memphis Grizzlies, man. We just got the news. Desmond Bane is out for at least 6 weeks with his ankle injury. Last time we spoke on the recent NBA, Ja Morant was playing and the Memphis Grizzlies were finally kind of rolling. He's also out for the season. Obviously, Steven Adams was out for the season a long time ago. Like, Ja Morant had just come off of his suspension. It's just, for a team that good to just be devastated by injuries and among other stuff, it's just so unfortunate, man.
Man, it just goes to show you that like you can't take your health for granted. Like these windows close so quickly. Even not to say their windows closed, but like that, you know, they're one of those teams that's been expected to be like next. They had a great season last year. And a lot of teams were a lot of people were wondering if they were going to go all in and make that trade that, like, you know, push the chips forward. Let's try to go for it this season. Disappointing end in the playoffs for them last season. And they're pretty much lost the season, lost a whole year together. Adams to start the season. Jaren Jackson's missed time.
Marcus Smart missed times.
Marcus Smart, John Morant's missed time suspension, and then got hurt. Brandon Clark, I think I mentioned him. Steven Adams, like they've missed so much time, and like core players, like their whole front court missing time is crazy, man. And like, you know, this is an opportunity for their young guys to, like, you know, they have so much talent on their roster. Like even that they had to cut a talented Kenny Lofton Jr. But you know, you got guys like Gigi Jackson, the rookie out of South Carolina, stepping up. Luke Kennard's been missed time as well. I forgot about him. But you got guys like you know, Gigi Jackson, David Roddy, guys who haven't really gotten to play a lot in or like, you know, role player minutes, and now they get to kind of grow. But man, it's so disappointing for one of the young, exciting teams to just have this shit luck season. Like I saw somebody on the timeline be like, yo, get the voodoo doll away from them already.
But I will say though, for as much talk about this upcoming draft being weak, I kind of disagree from what I've seen so far. So the Grizzlies can get a high pick, that would be pretty crazy.
It would. They could, I mean, I feel like they could definitely consolidate some of their young guys, but this is a chance for them to showcase some of those guys and see what they got around those guys. Cause you know, if you're going to you're missing your starting backcourt, your center, you know, trying to find a long-term answer at the three. They've been trying to do that since Rudy Gay was there. But you know, it's an important year from them. Like, just see what's going to fit, what's next. You know, one of these guys that they're excited about, it's like Vince Williams Jr., Zaire Williams. I mean, Zaire Williams, Xavier Tillman, those guys have played before, but like now a lot more is on them. Jake LaRavia, exciting young player. Like those guys have to step up now and like expand their roles, like Santi Aldama, like all these guys that are talented, could show you in glimpses, but now like it's all you guys. It's all you guys. You guys got to go out there, play 48 minutes every night, and figure it out, like win or lose.
And they really get a chance to prove themselves. I think the Grizzlies are definitely a franchise where, look, championships aren't everything. We've gotten to a point now where I consider the Grizzlies a good organization. And so I think that's a great organization for them to have that opportunity in, because if they do prove themselves, they're definitely going to be able to play and they're going to contribute to winning next season when everybody's back. Yeah. So last thing before we get into the actual show, Draymond Green is back. By the time you hear this, Draymond Green is back with the Golden State Warriors. I think their season is probably, I don't know, I'm not going to say it's lost. He's a big deal, but it's been a rough season for him. And I was going to kind of get into a little bit, but I kind of changed my mind on it. I think even with his outbursts and all that stuff, we kind of saw things go downhill when he was away. As far as players not getting along with the coach and all this other stuff, I think it kind of gets forgotten about just how much he kind of keeps that team together in his own like crazy Draymond way. Yeah. And so I'm excited to see him back.
No, me too, man. Like I feel like people forget like how important he was to those championship teams. I mean, a lot's to be said about, you know, where they are and the fact how long that their core has remained together, competitive and getting along for the most part. But you know, they're just speaking on this season, they've definitely missed him when he's away from the team. And Steph hasn't had the greatest Steph season, but he's still Steph. He's still high level number one option. And they're only a game and a half out of the 10 spot for the play-in, 5 games back of the 6. Like there's more than half the season remaining that like they can still pull off a little run, get some consistency. I definitely think they need a couple moves to like really get round into form, but Dre, I think Dre could be a real big part of that.
Yeah, and I would say they need to figure out what timeline they're on, but we've been saying that for years. People saying that the year they won a championship, so who knows? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 11 of Playoff Foul. I'm Kenny. No Lou today, but I do have Frankie. Frankie, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Birthday weekend. Packers won. He didn't just embarrass us on Dwayne Wade Hall of Fame night, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, so me personally, it's 13 degrees right now in Dallas. My heater has been blasting, and I'm still freezing in the house. Like if you watching the video, you see us both in hoodies. That explains it. Aside from that, though, make sure you comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow both the Instagram and TikTok because we are finally posting on there. Look, it's a lot of hard work to do to run this thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. So it took a minute for me to get those things up and running, but they are up and running now. So go ahead and follow those also. But we're gonna go ahead and just get into the show, man. So the Utah Jazz right now are 21-20, but that's not what's important. Right now, they are 12-3 in their last 15 games. I feel like I know the reason for that, but I'm gonna let you go first.
Man, Colin Sexton, since becoming a full-time starter, has kind of really turned it around for them.
That's the reason I had.
No, definitely. But like, he's not the engine. It's Lauri Markkanen. We all know that he's the all-star, the off-ball movement, the shooting, the unselfishness. He's one of the most unique players in the NBA. Just 7-footer, can score. So much of his game is off the ball, just cuts, reads, screens, pops, pick and pop. Like, you know, a lot has been made over the years about those Clay 50-point games where he took like 11 dribbles total. That's, you know, Lauri's doing that constantly, not dribbling at all, and getting so much of his off the ball as a threat, making the game real easy for them. But yeah, Colin Sexton, since becoming a full-time starter, and this isn't including tonight's game, we're on January 14th, but 21.5 points per game, 2.6 rebounds, 4.8 assists, 1.1 stocks. He's getting 76.9% rim at the rim on about 4 attempts, 41 per mid-range on about 5.5 attempts, 39% from 3 on about 4 attempts. Like, that's a 63.7% true shooting percentage. Utah has a 121.6 offensive rating with Sexton on. This starting lineup change has really done it. And another guy, Chris Dunn, who, you know, we've both loved him since he came into the league. Defensively, just a menace. Him and Sexton have been a great backcourt, and Dunn's just been a menace defensively. Unsung hero too. I want to give a shout out to Simone Fontecchio, the Italian stallion. Sure. I don't know if that's his real nickname, but we'll go with it. He's Italian. He's been phenomenal for them. Just his off-ball movement, his shooting, his high-level IQ. I remember he cooked Miami one game last year. That's the first time I heard of him. And then when I watched the World Cup and he was on Team Italy, and I was like, damn, this guy really knows how to play basketball. Like, he just high IQ player, and I'm not surprised that he's carved out a nice starting role with the starters, and he's been a part of why they've been playing so well.
And so we had the same reason. Well, you had more stuff with it, but I think the main reason has been Colin Sexton in the starting lineup. But I want to give a shout out to Will Hardy for that, because for me personally, for a while now, I feel like the league it's okay to move on from all right, this guy brings energy and he can score. You have to bring him off the bench. Right. I don't think that's really necessary anymore. I feel like now it should just be, because teams score so much and leads are already like difficult to keep. I think now you should just come out with the hardest punch first. And so I think adding Colin Sexton to that starting lineup and having that energy and having that scoring ability, putting him next to Chris Dunn, who's also a real intense and real scrappy player, they kind of set the tone for Utah. You know what I mean? Like, I was watching their last game, and they just basically kind of punked the other team. and I don't mean that with disrespect to the other team, but it's just like that's kind of their identity now since Colin Sexton's in the starting lineup, just overpower and outwork. And that's I feel like been the main thing. But I do want to also touch on Lauri Markkanen. He has been, I noticed, he's kind of working with his handle a little bit. And I think if he's look, I'm not expecting him to dribble like Kevin Durant, but I feel like if he starts to be able to create for himself a little more, that's going to be real scary. Because you also got to remember, he started off the season like kind of rough. Like he wasn't himself up until recently also, and that's part of why they're also good now. I also want to shout out Agbaji. Defensively, just an absolute menace. And it's just in general, and I don't know why I'm blanking on. I always blank on guys' names. The shot blocker,
Kessler, Walker Kessler.
Walker Kessler is doing Walker Kessler things. Simply put, just you can't score on him. So you got Walker Kessler, you got Chris Dunn, you got Colin Sexton, who wasn't always known as a defender, but now he's improving that area. You got Agbaji, and so they've really come up with a real identity up there in Utah, and I feel like that's been the reason for their success.
No, definitely, and you know, a lot's to be made on Chris Dunn because he's not doing it with the scoring. Like he's averaging 5 points per game on the season, but he's like a secondary playmaker. Rim pressure, he's shooting well off the catch, 37% overall from three from the season. And you know, the defense just being pesky there, him and Sexton being able to harass guys. Dunn's always been a really pesky defender, and like has really made his name on it since he got back into the league. But you know, it's just there are young teams that can look very young. And, you know, we just talked about the Hornets and no better example than that. But the Jazz have just done a really good job of like buying into Will Hardy's system, like playing for each other, playing unselfishly. Like, you know, we haven't even mentioned Kelly Olynyk, and Kelly's been won them a few games. Recently, we saw him in person against the Heat, just making passes, playing the high post, just feeding and playing against Bam, like and doing his thing. Like they're really well coached, really tough. Jordan Clarkson, another guy, the rookie Keontae George is very exciting, polarizing player, who's loved by a lot of draft experts. And he's definitely shown flashes, and I like that he gets to run the bench units and see what he's got. Taylor Horton Tucker's had a nice season. Like they've got talent, and you know, they've got a lot of draft picks to build on. But I really like what the young core's done, and I like that they're competing and they're right in it for the playoff race right now.
And to expound on Kelly Olynyk, I think the importance of him is you don't have the quote unquote traditional playmaker on that team as far as point guards go. As we know, Chris Dunn is there to defend, Colin Sexton's there to score. But you do need somebody to kind of run the offense. They have, like you said, like you mentioned, they've been playing together, they've been moving the ball, and that's a part of why they've also been winning. Just the unselfishness, including Jordan Clarkson, who's not really known for sharing the ball, but credit to him for really buying in. Like, no, seriously, like he's really like, I don't like the term making his teammates better because that's kind of disrespectful to the teammates in a sense, but he's kind of not taking a step back either, but he's been really just a part of the offense. He hasn't like gone out of his way to try to score, try to whatever it is. He's gotten his points off. I saw a lot of catch and shoot. I saw him cutting. I saw him finding guys on cuts. So credit to him. But also, Kelly Olynyk, like you said, he's being that hub. I think he's at like 5 assists a game right now, which we know as Heat fans pretty normal for Kelly Olynyk. Or 4 or 5.
For real. No, and to add to your Jordan Clarkson, he leads the team in assists. Kelly's right behind him, and Keontae is tied with Kelly. Like they all share the ball, but like Clarkson leads the team at 5 assists. Like it's definitely a team unit. Everybody, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that have averaged 3.9 assists or more.
Man, and once again, I feel like nobody gives coaches credit, man. And I like nobody gives coaches credit, but it's difficult to go into. And Will Hardy's also not an experienced coach. He's not going in there with 15, 20 years of head coaching experience. So getting guys to buy in is still a difficult thing to do. And so, man, just huge credit to Will Hardy. He just got there, right before they traded Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, I think so.
Or that same summer or something like that?
I think it was the same summer, yeah.
Same summer. So to get these guys to buy in after they've been in the league longer than him, Jordan Clarkson, like, he seems young with, like, he's if I'm not mistaken, he has over a decade in the league, and it doesn't seem like it. But these are real, like, he's a veteran. Like, you have veterans and you also have young guys, both of which a lot of times have difficult times listening to coaches because the veterans kind of feel like they know what they're talking about, and the young guys just also are just, I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to beat a 31-year-old that says young people this, young people that. But credit to Will Hardy, man. He's really figured some stuff out. I don't know how deep of a threat they'll be in the West, though. But I know, at least for now, I've had a lot of fun watching the Utah Jazz.
Absolutely. And on Clarkson, he's a sneaky 31 years old. He's the same age as us. 12 years in the league. Crazy enough. But yeah, the Jazz have been a lot of fun. Like, I agree with you. I don't know how far they'll go in the playoffs. But they're definitely gonna be a tough out. And I know a lot of other coaches are gonna point to them and see, like, hey, this is how we want to play. Like, offensively, share the ball. Look how the ball movement. Look at these unselfish movements, like these cuts and fills. Like, it's so hard to get your team at any level to play like this and to do it on the NBA level as a coach without a lot of respect and seniority on his name. Credit to the Jazz, credit to Will Hardy, and credit to the vets, like the vets and Mike Conley before he got traded was definitely a big part of that. But Clarkson's bought in, Kelly's bought in, Lauri Markkanen has made a name of himself in Utah, and credit to them. It's not easy to get that kind of buy-in.
And that style of offense in general. And we've always, like, kind of talked about this back in, well, I can't say back in because you're still with Heat, but back in my Heat days, like, it's so difficult to stop a team that's so unselfish and moves the ball so much because there's not really much you can key in on, because in the NBA or really anywhere, as a defense, you're going to give up something. It's just a matter of kind of hoping the other team doesn't figure out how to get to it. But if they're just swinging the ball around, cutting at the right time, making the right reads, you can't really game plan against that. And so I feel like, especially with a team that doesn't have a quote-unquote traditional point guard, credit to Will Hardy, man. Credit to Will Hardy.
All love to them, man. It's great to see, though, like, because a lot has been made about the NBA kind of just being a 3-point heavy team, and I don't think enough has been made about how every team has to get theirs differently. And you mentioned they don't have that primary guy, that primary on-ball guy. They don't have that Steph Curry, running through screens, that he's the threat, and him and Clay's gravity opens up the looks for everybody else. They don't have the Damian Lillard on-ball guy who can pull it from wherever, and his gravity pulls the attention and opens shit up for everything else, for everyone else. They have to do it through movement, through off-ball movement, through screening, through cuts, through continuous unselfishness. And it's great to see. Like, I wish more, on the broadcast, they pointed this out more. They're one of the more fun teams to watch that, they're not going to wow you with athleticism and stuff, but if you want to watch some great unselfish basketball, the ball movement, the unselfishness, the cutting, the screening, they're so tough. Like, when you're a good screening team, it is so damn hard to defend, and it opens up so much for everybody.
Yeah, screens, I feel like, man, because it seems like such a small thing, but a good screen just opens, like you said, opens up so much. And it's just like, and as far as like the way the league is, it is a 3-point shooting league, even still, sort of. But what it is more than anything is a copycat league. And there's different trends. I'd say every 5 to 7 years, the game changes completely. And so I think with the Warriors kind of, I don't want to say on the way down because I like them, but
they're getting older.
Yeah, they're getting older. And I think teams also just kind of realize you need the personnel for that. Like, you can't put up just this crazy amount of threes if you don't have generational 3-point shooters on your team. And so I want to give credit to the teams who figured that out. But the reason I said copycat league is because I feel like the Denver Nuggets are the team that's starting to change the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
And I've given credit to Nikola Jokic before, but I think it's the team in general, because of Jokic's ability. Now you have an Operation Sengun, and you have the Rockets, who they still run their offense through Fred VanVleet at times, but it's kind of they move the ball around a lot. You got Utah, like you said, you got OKC moving the ball around. They're like, that's starting to become the league, and I can't wait until it fully takes over with that style, man, because that's my favorite style of basketball. Like back in the days, I just said back in the days. But growing up watching the Spurs, and everybody would be like, man, the Spurs are boring. I'm like, y'all are crazy. They just like, have you seen? Anyway, man, like I don't want to get too deep into all that. But man,
no, I'm with you. I'm with you there. It's great to see that kind of buy-in, man. Just to see the quote unquote doing it without the talent.
Yeah,
like that's a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people say like that's how those teams kind of have to win. But you look at the Spurs; they had 3-4 Hall of Famers, all those championship runs. In Tony, Timmy was a top 10 player of all time. Like I don't care if you don't have him in your top 10, you're wrong.
Yeah, pretty much.
Flat out. You're flat out wrong. And Manu coming off the bench, they had Kawhi, David Robinson, and they had so much talent, and they're still playing the right way. Quote unquote the right way.
We sound 30 something.
I mean, I am 32 now, but
and you coached, so
but it's just the kind of like the kind of buy-in that you have to get. Like, a lot of guys want to average that 20 and 10, want to get those numbers, want to get that usage, want to get those shots up, and it takes a lot to get to not to say put we over me. And we're not gonna dive fully into the Spurs right now, but like Tony Parker was a guy who's like 18-6 for like his whole career and didn't care. He was like, I want to win. I want to take. I'm not gonna complain about shots. I'm not gonna complain about this or that. I want to win, and that's the best role for me in this team. Let's do it. And one of the hardest and toughest players to cover of all time. I still remember that 2013 game 1 when he dotted LeBron in the eye and on that jumper to dagger it in game 1. Just so tough. And just playing that way is when you have those elements, when you have a player that can get you an ISO bucket and you have to worry about all that shit, that makes it so damn tough.
And that's the thing. And man, it's like I said, it's tough to cover. But also, it's just like you're gonna get those numbers anyway. I think. Well, I can't even. I think I know for a fact it's Steve Kerr who said this, and he's kind of. You know what? I gave the Nuggets credit. I should have gave the Warriors credit for this. They also real big on ball movement. But what the thing he told Draymond and Steph and all them when he first got there was the ball's gonna find the right person anyway. Just move it, and it's gonna find who it needs to find, and that's been the case in Utah. LA Clippers. First of all, let me just say, we told you. I believe it was episode 2. While everybody was, they got James Harden. He gonna need the ball. He gonna this, that, whatever. I think we recorded that the same day or the day after Russell Westbrook decided he was gonna go to the bench. And we told y'all, we said, look, we feel like, I'm not gonna take all the credit. We feel like Russell Westbrook going to the bench and opening things up for James Harden to run that offense, y'all sitting here, y'all clowning it. That's exactly what this team needs. And because when you think about it, like after Chris Paul, they really struggled to find a point guard who could like really settle the offense. And man, the Clippers they are rolling right now. They have won. Well, no, the last 20 games, they are 16-4.
Cooking.
But they are just smacking teams for the most part. Like it's not even. First of all, Russell Westbrook off the bench, incredible. First things first. He's not going to win a 6th Man of the Year award or anything. I'm not saying that, but it's just with the way the team fits perfect move. So shout out to Russell Westbrook for that. Paul George, I think what gets lost a lot of times because I feel like, and I've said this before, if you could create like a basketball archetype, I think you come out with Paul George, somebody who can kind of do everything. But what gets lost in that is he's also one of the best shooters in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And so now you have a James Harden with still getting to the rim and like collapsing defenses, and he's kicking out to Paul George. Like, come on. And credit to James Harden also. Another point we made when we told y'all, because I'm not going to let anybody who denied it, I'm not going to let y'all like stand up for a second. I'm keeping y'all. We told y'all. James Harden last season on one hamstring led the league in assists. And that's like, so as far as like, and really, he's never been a selfish player. I think even still, he was always towards the top of the league in a sense, whether he won the numbers or not. You still have to make those reads. You still have to get your teammates involved. I don't think any of your teammates are ever going to complain about you wanting to lead the league in assists. So it's like, man, with him coming in healthy, that's been exactly what they've needed.
No, absolutely. And couple, we know about Kawhi and PG and Harden. To quickly, you wanted me to talk about Kawhi shooting 43% from three, Paul George 42% from three, James Harden 42.8% from three, Norman Powell 44.9% from three. They're all above 40%, which is insane to have four guys who can do that. Some teams are searching for one, and that's on a good, healthy chunk of volume. Like those guys putting up. PG's putting up 8.5, Harden's putting up 6, Norman's putting up 4, Kawhi's putting up 5.3. Like they're shooting them and they're knocking them down. But they're moving the ball well. They're Kawhi. I've never seen Kawhi smile this much. He's kind of had a resurgent season. He's finally been healthy. Well, they kind of look like the best case Clippers that we've been hoping for. I mentioned Powell, but he's been a 6-man of the year candidate. He's been outstanding scoring for them, defending, being a pest, and bringing a lot of energy off the bench for them. Zubac has been a defensive stalwart for them. Not always, not every matchup. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, but they're winless when he's out. So he's very important to them, and bringing in the rebounding, bringing in the toughness, the screen setting, and opening things up for them. But shout out to them. They've been a lot of fun to watch, and they're I'm really hoping this is the year they're healthy. Like I don't care if they make it to the finals or whatever, or they win it. Like I just want to see them healthy. I just want to see Kawhi and PG healthy.
And you know what? I love the Clippers in general. Even really my whole life, because look, my first year watching basketball, I know I mentioned this a whole lot, but 2002, that was the Darius Miles, Quentin Richardson, such and such, so on and so forth teams. I think Keon Dooner was on that team. South Florida basketball legend, by the way. They had Lamar Odom. Like that was like when I first started watching. That was like a cultural like phenomenon of a team. And so I've always kept up with the Clippers, even through all the jokes and all like the bad years and the down years and the Chris Kaman and all that. But no disrespect to Chris Kaman. But I've always kind of rooted for them in a sense. And so in the past 5, 6, or however many years, they've always been stacked on paper. And even back in the Lob City days, they've always been stacked on paper, but just couldn't actually get it done. Now, I don't know my answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you first. Does it feel different this year with the Clippers to you?
It does. It feels like they're more whole and like the pieces are fitting. And I mostly that Kawhi and PG are healthy. Like they're both healthy at the same time. Kawhi's played like he's played more games this season than he has in like full seasons recently. He looks healthy too. Like he's just been tough. Scoring wise, he looks more of like himself. He's not like it doesn't feel like he's dragging his body to the finish line. Like he's on pace to play more games than he has since like the Spurs days. It's been a long time since he's played this many games this early in the season.
And so here's why it feels different for me this year. And I'm not making a championship prediction. As you listen to the show as it goes on, you'll realize I don't really like making predictions anyway. because there's just so many factors that go into winning championships. But the tools a team always need for a championship, it's defense. And look, they have two of the best two-way players in the NBA. Like you mentioned, they have Zubac. They have defenders. All right, like there's no question about that. You need shot making. You have James Harden, who he's not scoring as much as he used to, but you got to remember, part of the reason he left Houston is because he didn't want to have to do all that anymore. Paul George obviously can create for himself. Kawhi Leonard is like back in the NBA Live days where you could just make an all 99 player and just go into the season and just destroy it. Like, just it's one thing to not have any flaws. It's another thing to be great at everything. And Kawhi Leonard is that. And so, but I'll keep him in the categories of defense and shot making. And you need role players who are stars in their role, or at least can be stars in their role at that time. There's no championship team where role players didn't play a huge part in getting that team over the hump and to the finish line. And so when you look at a Norman Powell just off rip, just like being able to come into games and score the way he does and score efficiently, I feel like that's a crucial thing. And I talked about that 6-man role earlier on in the episode. Those guys tended to be, I'll say it, and I like Jamal Crawford, I like Lou Will, I like those guys. But a lot of times that role was reserved outside of Manu Ginobili. That role was always reserved for guys who just really weren't efficient enough for it to make sense for them to start. And that's why I stopped kind of believing in that role being necessary, because given that guy who's already not really that efficient, his own unit to run, if you notice, teams who had those guys didn't usually go very far. And I feel like that's the reason why. But Manu's the difference, because Manu, he was efficient. He was just off the bench because Pop, he didn't invent that. Before that, there was Benny Johnson in the 80s. But Manu he became efficient enough, and he kind of got stuck on the bench also because Pop didn't really necessarily like him. I wouldn't say he didn't like him, but Manu came into the league very flashy and very not within the quote-unquote Spurs way. And that's why he was on the bench, because Pop just realized he needed to let Manu not be Manu, but he couldn't just get in the way of Tim and those guys earlier on, just playing a structured way. So that's why Manu came off the bench. And then copycat league, so now you need a guy off the bench, whatever. And so, like I said, it was usually made for inefficient guys who would just kind of get in the way of starting lineup in a sense, saying it in a nice way.
Yeah, you mentioned Jamal Crawford, and like, no disrespect to Jamal, like,
and I love Jamal Crawford and I love Lou Will.
Yeah, fantastic careers, both Clippers. But like Jamal was a big part of those Clippers teams that died in the playoffs every year. Yeah. I always felt like it was mostly like it's so underrated, but it's so hard to win without a really good two-way three.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest issues. Like the Clippers had the corpse of Grant Hill, Paul Pierce starting for those teams. Mm-hmm. It's hard. Like you go back, look year after year. Like it's Kawhi, it's KD, it's Andre Iguodala, mm-hmm. It's LeBron. It's really good two-way threes that are winning championships consistently. And this past year with the Nuggets was the only difference. It's the outlier to the rule. But no, it's exactly what you said. Like the 6-man rule has really evolved from that. That microwave scorer who can get hot and win you a game. But a lot of times they're going to shoot you out of games, and that's usually what it is. Now you got guys like Emmanuel Quickley last year, who was Malcolm Brogdon last year, like guys who can run units, get you efficient shots, get you good looks, be aggressive, can get their own shots, but they're playing a role. They're filling the box score up in different ways. It's not just, hey, I'm going to score 51 game and I'm going to score 6 the next game. Like it's not like that anymore. Yeah, and we say all that to say Norman Powell is not the inefficient shot chucker off the. It still sounds so mean. I already like those players, but Norman Powell is not
that. So the Clippers have the shot making, obviously. They have the defense, obviously. And they have the role players who can be stars in the roles and really step up and be like the Kenny Smith hitting 7 threes in the finals game. And so this season does feel different for me. It does feel different for me. And you know what? I'm going to say this also. Coming from like a former James Harden hater, I would be happy to see it. I'd be happy to see it because I do feel like, and this is me, listen, if you're new to me, this is me making a complete 180. I love seeing players prove people wrong because I feel like just in general, athletes kind of don't get looked at as people who play sports. They just on this pedestal, like they have to be perfect, and if not, they're like terrible. And so I love seeing people who just get criticized way too much prove people wrong. And so if James Harden is to win a championship, there's just not much else you can say about him. I feel like, and he has, look, I was leading the charge on the James Harden flames out in the playoff thing, even though it wasn't always necessarily true. It would just really be closeout games. But even with his history of kind of flaming out in playoff games, now he's next to Kawhi Leonard, who does the complete opposite in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, and like I mentioned in the previous episode, yeah, it was funny that Paul George gave himself a nickname. But when he gave him the playoff P nickname, at the time, his performances did skyrocket in the playoffs. He came onto the scene in the playoffs against the Big Three Heat. And so I believe in this Clippers team. Before, when we talked about him, it was we weren't sure. We had to see how it worked. We've seen how it works now. I fully believe in them. I'm still scared of Denver, but I believe in the Clippers.
No, and you mentioned Harden buying in, but also Russ. Like Russ has been a very big scapegoat of some of his team's performances. Some of it legitimately was his fault. But he's accepted the bench role. He's been willing playmaker, sacrifice shots, sacrifice minutes when he's still a very capable player. Like if Russ wanted to, a team could sign him and he could still probably get closer to or average a triple-double. He's still a very talented player, but he wants to win. He wants to win really bad. And it's a bunch of guys. It's Kawhi wanting to win one at home. It's and win one for these guys that have had these long careers. They're closer to the end than the beginning or the prime of it. And it would be cool to see PG win one. It would be cool for us. I'm still not going to root for Harden, even when I wanted him in Miami because I just wanted some more some more scoring in Miami. I'm still not going to root for Harden. if they flame out in the playoffs, I'm going to blame Harden and troll. But no, I would not be surprised if they're the team at the end.
Man, and I'm glad you mentioned Westbrook because he's the main guy I want to see win. Because, man, first of all, he was one of my favorite players for a long time. I'm not going to say the whole time he was in OKC, but after KD left, like, I love versatility in general. Look, I'm not going to mention the first year I watched. Yes, I am. The first year I watched basketball was LeBron's senior year of high school. And so from there, I've loved versatility. And so for a guy to average a triple-double 4 times is incredible. And I think the main reason I want to see Russell Westbrook win is because the day he got traded to the Lakers, I don't remember what you said, but we're on the same page a whole lot. So I looked at that immediately, like you're giving LeBron a ball-dominant point guard who doesn't shoot and doesn't defend. That's like the opposite of what LeBron needs. That's not going to work. And he was so hated, and he was such a scapegoat for that team who non-ironically still struggling. And they still bringing him up also. But it's just like, man, he got treated brutally out there. And you know he's from LA, so even if he's not a Laker fan, somehow everybody around him grew up loving the Lakers. It was just an unfortunate situation, man. So to see him come back from that and play well is good enough. But if we can see him win one in the same arena, man, look.
Man, it would be great for his legacy, and it'd be cool to see, especially like you said, in that arena, proving that he wasn't the problem like that, and because he did take a bench role with the Lakers too.
Yeah.
Like he sacrificed for that. He said, "Put me aside." It wasn't his fault that they saw, hey, LeBron's always done really well with shooters and a roll man, and let's bring LeBron. Let's bring Russell Westbrook, who's in one of his recent seasons was the roll man, like. When he was in Houston with James, like he was the pick and roll, the Bruce Brown role in that Bruce Brown played in Brooklyn. But times 1,000 because Russ is a better athlete, better player than Bruce. No, but that's what that kind of stuff is cool, man. Like we're old already, bro. But like seeing like Gary Payton win one in Miami in 2006, like seeing like Alonzo, PJ Brown in 2008 with the Celtics, like stuff like that. Like, man, it's awesome. It's so hard for those veterans to like sacrifice. Yeah. And we've seen guys like Melo like take years to realize, hey, I gotta buy in. I want to keep playing. I gotta buy in and like what are guys gonna remember me for if I'm gonna keep being this like tough to play guy. Tough to play with, tough to like a selfish guy. Like I need to buy in, and like, it's always cool to see those guys get one at the end, in a role that they probably didn't see themselves ever playing.
Yeah. And and Russell Westbrook definitely deserves one because he's always made sacrifices. He's always, and I've said this before, not on air, but the media perception of Russell Westbrook and Russell Westbrook's teammates' perception of him have always been complete opposites. He's always been sold to us as this like selfish player who only cares about stats and he's difficult to play with and whatever it is. But every single player who has ever played with Russell Westbrook just speaks the highest of high of him. And so, man, I'm a Miami Heat fan, so I'm going to win the championship. But if that doesn't happen, I need to see the Clippers do it because there's just so many. Paul George is another one. A lot of just undeserved hate over the years. I feel like because he gave himself the nickname and then he went out there and he struggled in the playoffs. And like the perception of him just got exaggerated. Like everybody forgot about what he was doing in Indiana in the playoffs. And it was just like, well, he shot off the backboard one time. He like struggled in a couple games. So I love the Clippers, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I love the Clippers, man.
And I'll just to tack on the playoff P thing. I think the PG-13 was 1,000 times worse than the playoff P.
Oh yeah. You can't. That's the thing, man. Like he kind of had to give himself a nickname in that sense.
He forced it with the PG-13.
Yeah, he needed a rebrand.
Yeah, the playoff P was better. But man, it was some of that corniness was funny. No, man, they're definitely going to be up there if they're healthy. And that's been unfortunately, that's been one of their biggest issues over the years. Mm-hmm. It's just they haven't been healthy at the right time. And Kawhi and PG, one of them or both of them missing time in the playoffs. And it's been tough. It's so tough to build a roster around in a salary cap sport with two guys that miss constant time. And when those two guys like are versatile players, they really hide a lot of holes that the team has. And now, they have more talent around them and they're having fun. They look like they're having fun playing basketball. And it's great to see that.
So the OKC Thunder are still whooping ass. They're 27-11. I guess we'll end up predicting awards at some point. We did our own award shows the last 2 episodes. That was a lot of fun. But, man, look, I feel like if the season ended today, it would be hard for me to vote against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for MVP. And as much as I love what Wemby's doing out in San Antonio, I feel like Rookie of the Year should be a lock with Chet Holmgren. Obviously, I love what Jaime Jaquez is doing in Miami, but, man, just Chet Holmgren being a key piece to some wins in OKC, and also keeping in mind that he's really the difference on that roster. Aside from internal improvement with the team, and I don't think they had Isaiah Joe last season, and he's been incredible, but he's been really like the biggest difference. Is him being out last season and him being in this season. But I'm a kind of like let you lead the way on the Thunder, man, because you kind of also saw this coming with them.
Yeah, well, real quick, Isaiah Joe did join the Thunder last year. He did play on the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely a big part of them as well. No, it's we talked about the Jazz earlier and how tough it is to get young teams to play well and play the right way. The Thunder are also a great case study for it, man. That this roster so talented, and it's easy. There's a lot of young teams with a lot of talent. You look at the Pistons. Cade Cunningham is a great player.
Yeah.
Jaden Ivey shows flashes. Jalen Duran is very talented as well. But it's hard to win. It's hard to win building good habits and being young. You got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the leader of that team, at 25 years old.
Yeah.
He is 25 years old. I'm going to say that again, 25 years old. He is the leader of that team. This is a team that's largely playing with young guys. Like their rotation is Shea, it's Giddey, it's Dort, it's Chet, Isaiah Joe.
Jalen Williams. We got to give credit to
Jalen Williams, underrated guy that he's a huge part of what they do. But
18 a game right now, I think.
Yeah, exactly. 18.2 points per game. But like you look at this roster, and these guys are all 25 and younger. Like Isaiah Joe is it feels like he's been in the league a long time. He's 24 as well. Like the rookie Vasilij Micic. I won't pretend I know how to correctly say his name, but he's playing a good amount of minutes for them, and he's a 30-year-old rookie guard from overseas. I forgot where he's from exactly, but like majority of these guys are young. Kenrich Williams, like Cason Wallace, the rookie. Kenrich Williams is the vet. He's 29.
Makai Duncan. Random
that's his boy.
Yeah.
That's his boy. But like this is like you talk about a lot of it's been made about teams having veterans and how important it is. But this organization just has flat out done a great job, like getting young guys without a lot of like knuckleheadness on the court, and they all know each other. They all play for each other. They share the ball really well. They distribute shots really well. They know Shai's the leader. You mentioned Chet's defense, and incredible. It's understated how hard it is to go right into the league and be good as a rookie on defense. And Chet and Wemby, like two of the best to ever do it as a rookies, especially in this era of like space, and how much ground they have to cover, how much responsibility they have as big men, rotating, knowing where everyone's at, making the right rotations, knowing when to challenge, when to rebound, when to fake. There's so much that goes into it, and I know I talk about maturity and stuff and the whole Giddey situation. Won't get into that, obviously not a fan of that stuff, but they're so talented, man. And getting to see them like just play like relentlessly, like just committed to playing the right way. A lot of young teams, we've seen it with Memphis when they were in the playoffs, lose their heads, get a little bit too full of themselves. And I know Shai is plenty confident. Shai is plenty confident, but man, like I trust that team. I trust this core. I really, really like this core.
But you know what? You make a great point as far as young teams buying in versus not buying in, especially with the Pistons comparison. Because when you look at the two teams, right, and I like Monty Williams. I think he did a great job in you know what? I don't know. Because remember, he had the stuff with DeAndre Ayton also. Yeah. And once he got to Detroit, and as soon as it came out, like him and Jaden Ivey was having friction, I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. Because you really you can't butt heads with your young guys when you have a young team. The players are going to stick together. And so anytime you have a coach versus a player, you've killed your locker room completely. You've killed the locker room completely. Another thing also with OKC, as far as them being young and being ahead of schedule, and it's kind of going under the radar, but it's something I picked up on a while ago, that organization has proof of concept with that. Mm-hmm. When you think about back in the goddamn day, when you think about with when they had the Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook team, they went to the finals young. They can look at that example of like, hey, we've done it before in this market. This is attainable. We can do this. And I think they realized that because remember earlier in the season, Chet Holmgren making the piece of rolls reference and all that stuff on social media. Like they know they're not selling themselves short as like, all right, we're young and we need a few years to get it together. They fully believe that they can really make a real run at it. And they actually made a reference to it. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander after the Heat game, he said, we'll see y'all whatever. He was alluding to the finals.
Basically. Yeah, we'll see y'all in June. We'll see y'all again.
Yeah. And so this team knows for sure like how good they are and how good they can be. And right now, 27-11, the point you made off air, and I want you to respond on also, is they're legitimate at this point. We're almost halfway we're almost halfway through the season. They're still one of the best teams. It's not a fluke.
Yeah. Yeah, like and I want to also credit their coach, Mark Daigneault. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that wrong. How's it?
I'm saying it confidently. I'm probably wrong too, but as far as I know, Denegal.
I will learn how to say it. I promise after this. But no, he's credit to him to getting all this buy-in from the guys. But yeah, like a lot of times you'll see, not just talking about injuries, but guys, young teams like this, what they will peak and crash really hard a lot of times because teams will figure them out. Guys' egos start playing roles and into this, and we're almost halfway through the season and we haven't really seen that stretch of them struggling to play basketball. They'll have a tough loss here and there because they're human. That's gonna happen. Good team or bad team, like everybody goes through that at some point. But they're just committed to just playing good basketball, sharing the ball. Everybody's getting involved offensively. You got 5 guys averaging double figures. You've got multiple guys averaging an assist a game, almost 4 of them averaging about 3 assists a game or more. Like it's not a Shai 30 and 12 and you got to only stop Shai. It's like, hey, everybody's moving the ball. Everybody's unselfish on this team. A lot of shooters on this team. Guys that are knockdown shooters, playing big roles, stepping in. You got Aaron Wiggins, who's played the most games for them. He's shooting 48% on one attempt a game, but he's playing a role for them. Jalen Williams, we talked about him. Both Jalen Williamses. They've got so much talent on this team. Kenrich Williams, Lindy Waters, Isaiah Joe. They have a bunch of guys shooting over 40%. Cason Wallace, one of my favorite rookies coming into the draft. Being a dog defensively, scrappy, has been able to hit his catch and shoot threes, 40% right now into the season. Chet doing what he does. We're getting 3-and-D rim protectors, and it's becoming a normal thing. Chet is just shooting almost 40% his rookie year from 3. Like they've got so much going for them, and they play so well. The floor balance, guys know where to be, how to move off the ball. Like there's not a lot of guys crashing into each other, getting each other's way. This seems scary, man. This seems scary. And what is also scary is I think, but they have the most fucking ammo as far as transactions wise. Like if they need to make a move, like to acquire something, they can get it pretty easily. And like, You're not going to get into a bidding war with OKC right now.
Yeah, no.
They have everything they need, and I don't know what exactly like on the court to add to this team because I just like how they're playing. I don't. It wasn't like with Memphis. I saw a couple of issues that I felt like they needed to address. And like when they were talking about the OG trade, I'm like, yeah, they should definitely go for that big 3. But OKC's got Jalen Williams. And I think he's a special player, super underrated. He's averaging 18 a game, 4-4, and he's just looks so effortless. Like sometimes he's just going through it. 44% from 3, like I mentioned. Like he's almost a 50-40-90 player. He's at 83 from the line. But he's just an extreme talent. Like maybe they could use one more wing. But yeah, man, like this team is fucking tough and fun.
Yeah, and to your point, and like I said earlier, and we don't make predictions, but championship teams, they need shot making, they need defense, and they need role players who can be superstars in their role. Shot making, you got Shea. Like, that's kind of all you need, but you also got Chet. Defense, you got Chet. And credit to Shea for improving as much as he has on defense. You also have Case and Wallace, like you said. You have Aaron Wiggins. You have Kenrich Williams. They are stacked with defenders. And that's been what's won them so many games. And I think that's kind of been going under the radar because of how great Shea is. But their defense has been really what's been making them so difficult to beat. And the players who can be stars in their role. Like you just mentioned all of them. I don't even have to go over the list again. It just is what it is. Like I said, we don't make predictions, but all we do know is that the OKC Thunder are a real legit team. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it. Thanks for tuning in to episode 11 of Playoff Foul. I'm Kenny. Frankie, give me your social media real quick.
Frankie G _ on Twitter. That's Frankie with a Y, G _ on Twitter. You can find me on Miami Heat Beat, talking about the Heat and some around the league, previewing games specifically towards the Heat. And you can also find me on Stream Beat. We talk movies and TV shows there with me and Alex Musabai from Miami Heat Beat, along with some guests. Kenny's been on a few episodes as well. So catch me on there. Follow us and support.
My Twitter is KennySpenceNBA, but make sure you follow Playoff Foul on social media. We're on all social media now, and I'm specifically asking to follow us because it's a lot of work making those videos. And if you like the music also, that's my brother, Devin Spence. His social media is BlackGlowMusic on Twitter. Not Twitter, he's not on Twitter. On Instagram and TikTok. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time.
Go Pack Go.